Hey guys, welcome back to our Cozy Minecraft Let's Play. This is a modded 1.18.2 cottagecore Let's Play, and today we're making iron farm. I forgot to record an intro, so we're jumping straight into it. We started with a to-do list that says that we're going to get some villagers, make them houses, build an iron farm, build a bee farm, all that good stuff. I decided to put these things up on the wall so I can remember what I'm doing because I do have ADHD and I just tend to forget everything halfway through. So we're starting with filling some buckets. I need some lava and water buckets for the iron farm. And on the way to get the lava bucket, I did run into this little zombie dungeon thing, which spawned me a zombie egg, so that turned out to be super useful for the iron farm in the end. And then we went to go grab some beds in a nearby village. Now, definitely don't mind me being poisoned in some of these clips, and also definitely don't worry about me having lost a bunch of levels when we start grabbing this villager. Now, we did steal pretty much all of the beds from this village for the farm, and I would feel super rude to leave these little guys behind, since then they don't have anywhere to sleep. You know, that's kind of rude. So I put a boat in front of his house, and I punched him in the face so he'd go sit in it, and then it was a very long and annoying ride home. Did you know boats ride on land? Because I sure didn't. So while we are enjoying this scenic boat ride, I thought that I would mention to you that I stream on Twitch 3 times a week. Wow, what a shocker, a gaming YouTuber that streams on Twitch. But in all seriousness, I do really love hanging out with you while I'm live. So if you'd like to stop by 3 times a week, I'm a huge chatter. And I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday in the evening European times, or in the afternoon/morning for the US, depending on where you are. And if you're looking to meet some new gamer friends, we have a Discord server where there's a free-to-play Minecraft server. It's modded with Valhelsia 3, which is honestly very exciting, and we hang out in this Discord server literally every day. So if you're interested in either of those, or if you're just straight up lonely, the links will be in the bio. So when I was bringing this villager home, there was pretty much a choice of making a giant tunnel through the landscape on land, or sailing around a little bit and destroying a sandbank in the process. And to me, that sounded like the less annoying option, so that's what I ended up doing. The first one went kind of slow, and it seriously took me like 5 in-game days to get this villager to sit in this boat and to get him back home, but the other 2 were honestly much easier. So all in all, do I recommend the boat method? If you have waterways, yes. If you're going over land, you're better off using the method where you grab some workstations and basically make the villagers follow their jobs, or potentially using minecarts. But to be honest, this river thing made it really easy to grab these villagers. So I have 3 of them in boats right here next to my house, and they are just going to be waiting here while I get everything ready for the farm. Now, here we are, and before we start with the actual farm, I have to give a little disclaimer that this farm truly gave me so much trouble. I built my house on top of a giant cave system that basically made it impossible for the golems to spawn in the right place and to actually be useful, and I ended up having to either move my base completely or fill in the ground somehow. So I did that with the world edit tool, since there were so many cave pockets that it literally took me 6 hours to fill them all in by hand, and it still wasn't enough. So the farm that I'm using is a modded version of a pretty popular farm that starts by digging out a 6x6 square 2 blocks deep and placing water in each corner, so the golems get pushed to the middle and fall in some lava and die an agonizing death while burning alive. So the first thing that we had to do was dig a tunnel that went 30 blocks down, and at the bottom of that tunnel we made a little chamber for us to stand. Then we placed down a chest and some hoppers connected to it, and we used signs to ensure that the lava stays in place. After we do all that, we dig ourselves out, and I did miss the clip of that, but I used ladders since we need to be able to come back down here to get the iron out. Keep in mind to dig far enough away from the outside of the water that we placed earlier, since otherwise you just destroy your farm. Now it's time to put these poor unfortunate souls into the ground to never see the light of day again. Honestly, I feel like Ursula from The Little Mermaid. Sorry, I just feel like a Disney villain. But basically you dig a little 3x1 hole 7 blocks deep, and then you dig a chamber away from the farm. It has to be facing away, otherwise the golems won't spawn well. And if you are having trouble keeping up with the video, I will link the original farm in the description so that you can just rewatch that over and over again like I had to do as well. But yes, remember that zombie egg that we found in the dungeon. Honestly, this is the perfect time for it to come into play because we are going to drop it right into this chamber and lock it up forever. So our poor villagers will ultimately just be forever scared. That was a mouthful. I said that whole sentence in one go without even doing any retakes. So you should be proud of me. But if I hadn't gotten a zombie egg, I would just wait for the nighttime and lure one into the hole. It really shouldn't be that difficult to get it to sit in the boat since, you know, they are kind of dumb. So the last part of this process is getting the villagers into the hole that we made for them. And normally you'd seal this up, but I couldn't get it over my heart to do that. So I used some trapdoors with holes so that they can at least see some daylight. P.S. Did you see those llamas fall into the farm? The fact that one of them survived must mean that it's immortal, and you cannot convince me otherwise. So, we just checked to see if everything was working, and sure enough, it finally did, and then it was time for me to AFK. I guess the immortal llama must have come back for my ass because I did somehow just end up dying while AFK. So, with the iron that we did farm, we made ourselves a whole new set of armor because from dying so many times, it had completely broken, and then we finally started working on the build to decorate this farm. I'm so excited. I started by placing some slabs around the farm to create a floor, and to my understanding, these either have to be flat grass blocks or blocks that golems can't spawn on, like slabs or buttons, and so far this has worked perfectly for me. Then I outlined it all with some spruce, and I stripped those logs and I made a little bump out in the front to make an entry of sorts, and I started placing some stone blocks around the border to start the walls, and I ended up filling in the walls in the end with a combination of calcite and calcite bricks and iron blocks that I got from AFKing in this farm for 8 hours straight while working on school. Those windows that you see there, I made them out of blue stained glass and the blue dye you just make with the lapis lazuli blocks, or if you have some flowers that will work as well, I think. So on the other side I also placed some windows, and I ended up wanting to make a big chimney there to sort of signify that this was like a steel smelting factory, which essentially it is. And I just realized that there is no sound to these clips, and I think I turned it off because I really got annoyed by the sound of iron golems kind of burning to death, but it does sound a little bit quiet right now. So that chimney I ended up making out of a combination of soapstone and deep slate, mainly soapstone because that's all like the black blocks that I had. And then I kind of detailed it with some stairs, and I put some furnaces in to, you know, sort of, again, signify that steel smelting factory look. And I ended up placing campfires on top of the chimney to make the fire and make the smoke that kind of comes out of the chimney. Now, in the next couple of clips, you will basically just see me struggle with the roof a bunch of times, and to be honest, I got so frustrated that I cut all of it out. But the roof in the end was made with a spruce lining and some calcite inner blocks to sort of stick with the theme of the build, and to be honest, I just had too much calcite laying around that I wanted to use up for something. In just a second, you will get a little flash shot of the roof, and you can pause it there if you want to rebuild it, but roofing sucks, and honestly the best way to do it is to just kind of look up tutorials on Pinterest because I can't be bothered. Now, to detail the farm around the outside, I started with, again, just placing some slabs kind of in a weird random pattern to make it look a little bit messy, you know, like it's well used and worn out. And I did that all around the build. So I also started putting some details after that. Off the top of my head, I believe I used mostly stairs, trapdoors as like window shutters, leaves, flower pots with cherry tree saplings in it because none of the other flowers that I had fit in there very well and looked nice. So the cherry tree saplings were a good alternative, and lanterns. And I liked this detail of adding the cobwebs to the side of the chimney, and I wish I had more of those too so that I could just make this build look kind of overgrown and gross. So the last thing that I did to this build was add an anvil and some other useful things like barrels for iron storage at the front of this build. If the farm ends up filling up before I can take the iron out, I can always add some extra chests and connect them with more hoppers downstairs, but for now this will have to do. All in all, I'm very happy with this build. It looks so fun. I know it doesn't really match the style of the rest of my little cottage town, so I'll have to work on incorporating everything together. Next time I'd like to make some farms, like, I don't know, a bee farm, and I guess a sugarcane farm will be useful, as well as a barn for my animals. And somewhere down the line, it would be really nice to make an enchanting room and go get diamonds, but to be honest, the caves really scare me. So, and I have so much iron right now anyways that I'll be okay for a bit. It has been wonderful to have you guys here. If you did enjoy this video, please consider subscribing. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye!